Classic start to my live streams. I never understand why it takes so long to sort itself out. It's crazy. Oh well. Just the way it is. Slowly getting better. I wouldn't say better. Oh my God. What's going on? Crazy. Crazy. Slowly. Why is it like taking 4 minutes to even... Oh, it's just... Oh, it's getting there. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Oh well. Got some high def flicker in there. Should have a little bit lower. So 5 minutes to get some kind of image. Yeah, I know. The architect. What is that camera doing? So it's funny because I put in, I'll show you. This is what I put in to my command line, right? Into my terminal. Let me get it. Okay. That is the command I put in to sort out the camera. Well, I say sort out the camera. It puts it into like 50 hertz, which stops the strobing. Although I think iridescent light, like light bulbs, does affect that anyway. But it just takes time to settle down. I don't really know. Maybe it's because I'm still using USB 2, struggles with the data transfer. I don't know, or it's just a bad driver. But it's like the cliche webcam. Was it the C290 that you get from Logitech? Anyway, I can only, I mean, who am I to say? But it just seems to me it's a terrible driver. I don't know. Or skill issues. But anyway, V4L2 control seems to eventually fix it. Oh, he's nearly 7 minutes now. It's still flickering a bit. Bizarre. Two people now. Well, it's settled down. So what is that? 7 minutes. Still flickering a bit. 7 minutes 30 for the camera to settle. Crazy. It's still flickering. 3 people, 1 person. Anyway. This is really interesting. I've never seen this. Well, well, lucky you, I guess. I've seen this a lot. My camera just doesn't work at all. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. So, do you follow my channel? Here and there. Okay. So you might have seen the title for this stream, which is I'm going to be doing my Linux videos differently from now on. And that's because my camera, I was going to grab it. My camera I usually record my videos on is kind of broken. Yeah, it's looking better now. The camera that I record on, the sound on it doesn't record now. So I've got like a Rode Video Pro microphone that I use on a camera, a DSLR. I've covered it in a video way back. The sound's decided it's not going to record anymore. I don't know if it's a camera issue or a camera issue, but it means I can't record videos in a normal sense. I have to do it through my webcam. So my plan is to live stream more regularly and do my videos on the live stream and then cut the videos for YouTube separately. Or take the video sorry, how to explain. So the subject I'm doing on the video, take it from my live stream and put that as a video in my YouTube videos, if that makes sense. Well, I can't even explain what I'm doing. It's crazy. So that's the plan. I don't know if it will be a good idea, but it's kind of the situation I'm in. So the video that I'm going to do today, which is on the read line, the read line in Bash, will be recorded on the live stream. So there you go. You get to see the videos on the live stream. How great is that? I don't know. Is that good? But that's the plan. It's funny, there's only one person on here. So the live streams as well, I'll tend to do maybe an hour. Thinking about an hour, maybe less. I'm going to try and do them relatively regularly, allowing for time. So I've got a week off this week from work, so it's sort of allowed me to do more, or have more time to do these kinds of things as well. So yeah, be interested to see how it goes. Three people now. So I'll probably wait for a bit, and then I'll do my video. So ask any questions if you got any questions about anything. So I've only got 3 people now. Yeah, so until I do like the video, I'm more than open to answer questions, talk about Linux stuff, and this will probably be the format. So the live stream will be, think of like the Primeagen, but rubbish, or think I'm doing like the Primeagen, but not as good, basically. And I don't know. If you watch my channel, you know how these things go. Yep, still using the X201. So I want to get, actually, I've sort of resolved now to get a LibreBoot ThinkPad X200. So ironically, going back a generation, and that'll be my main machine. And this X201 will still be the testing machine. And then I've obviously got my X201, the other X201, that's the main machine. But yeah, I felt foolish because a year or so ago, I think I mentioned this on a previous live stream, there was an X200 LibreBooted, an X200S LibreBooted on eBay, really good condition, really good price. And I kind of thought about it and I didn't go for it. I was even offered a discount on it. That's sort of how foolish I was in not buying it then. However, there are some good reasons not to get a LibreBoot ThinkPad, but I don't know, the way computing is going, it's just generally, what's the word? Depreciating, or it's generally declining in. I mean, look at the craziness with Facebook Meta recently being able to escape Android permissions and spying on people. It just seems to be getting worse and worse. So there are good reasons not to get a LibreBoot ThinkPad in a way that you might not be aware of. But I think it's just good practice. And getting the X200, the ThinkPad, the LibreBooted X200 as well, with the can't think of the brand, but it's like it's the Libre Wi-Fi card as well. Although there's reasons not to use it, but whatever. I think it's just good practice. So that's the plan. Oh, nice. Dell E. Oh, is that a Dell E6400? That's Latitude, isn't it? Yeah, I like the Latitudes. I like the ThinkPads. They're really good. do you have like an Intel Wi-Fi card in that, or do you use like a Libra Wi-Fi card? Yeah, so I was, yeah, okay. So it was interesting. I remember speaking to a certain person from LibraBoot, and they said you should use the Intel card, even though it's proprietary, rather than the Libra Wi-Fi cards that have the software hard coded into the Wi-Fi card. The Intel ones are actually really what you should be using, but you know, I guess the inclination is to have everything Libra or free and open source, or well, But hey, Nonny, is that how you say your name, Nonny? How are you? Yeah, that's the goal. It's interesting. Luke's, and I guess my conscience was a bit highlighted when was it Luke Smith did the video recently on the goal of using free and open source software as much as possible, because I did a video not too long ago on why don't use a Libra operating system or FSF approved operating system, and I mean, he's right. The goal should be that where possible. So that's what I'm going to try and do where possible. NVIDIA GPUs. Wow. I know the NVIDIA GPUs are getting better with Linux, but still, I don't know. But yeah, I can imagine they'll have problems with LibraBoot. Four people. What's the time? I don't know. No, it's not too bad. Yeah, so anybody got any more questions? Fire away. Or you want to talk about any Linux related stuff, like the fork of Xorg? I can't think what other Linux news there has been, really. Yeah, I looked at a bit. I looked at, what was it, Lunduke, who I don't really watch Lunduke stuff, the Lunduke journal, but it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to remember. I think there was a Brody video on an Xorg maintainer who was making all these commits last year. He was making like hundreds of commits. Suddenly, he said he was going to do all the work on Xorg because no one else was working on Xorg. Nobody was, just the code was being bit rotted, right? It was being abandoned by FreeDesktop and Red Hat and all this. And so he was putting in all these commits, but I don't know if this is the same person, but anyway, there was another video where I think Brody did, where they were refusing to merge his commits. I think Brody did a video on it. So he wanted effectively Xorg to release new versions, and they wouldn't. but then they wouldn't like put in his commits. They wouldn't merge his commits. So I think he had enough of that, and so he's forked Xorg, called it Xlibra, and there'll be new versions of it. And then there was all this controversy over code of conduct. There was controversy over he was also then banned by FreeDesktop apparently, and Red Hat, all his commits were removed and not merged. So that's why he then put it on GitHub and all this kind of stuff. But the thing with the Xlibra situation is how many distributions will actually put it in their distribution. I mean, we'll have to be through the AUR for Arch Linux, for example. I mean, I guess it's not the end of the world if you really want the developed or the Xlibra Xorg. I mean, that might be the way to go. And personally, I do worry if it's, I don't really want my Xorg server on the AUR, if that makes sense. I don't want to have to rely, I want it on the main package repos. I think that's just good practice. It's like certain things. I don't want to download the AUR version of something. I want it on the actual distribution's main package repository. I just think that feels the right way to go. And I know it's kind of being arbitrary. It's a bit of the same situation. If I'm using Arch, I don't want to be compiling things. It's just, what's the point? Just use Gentoo. So for example, that's why I don't use DWM. DWM is great. It would be my preferred choice. However, DWM by definition needs to be compiled, should be compiled. And I'm not going to have a binary version of it in principle on the AUR. At the same time, I'm therefore not going to install it or have it as my window manager because I feel it should be maintained on the main package repository. You know, I shouldn't be having to look every so often to check if there's, you know, a new version that I need to compile or a new patch that I need to compile because it's been updated. I know that seems like crazy, and in a way it's not a lot of effort. I just think it's like, it's just a little practice I don't want to change. So, you know, things like my window manager, my Xorg server, my, you know, even same with Wayland, you know, Sway and WL roots. I want that on my main system through, I want that through the repos, main repos. I don't want to compile anything on Arch. It's just crazy. I don't want to install it through the AUR, those kind of things. I don't really want to split the difference. And of course, then I've got this ironic thing, which is I don't even really care about using Xorg or Wayland. I'm happier in the TTY for my desktop, as you probably know. So, but there we go. Wow, 13 people. 13 people are going to see my Linux video before it becomes a Linux video on YouTube. Probably in the next 10 minutes. How exciting. Neil Davis, hello, cheese. Yeah, Sway seems to be fine. If you've seen my videos on these, of course, on Wayland, on Sway, I'm just future-proofing. I'm just building up a system that works for me, which is really just, I'm just identicating i3 on Sway. And just sort of maintaining until time, you know, really happens where I can't or won't use Xorg anymore because it's bit rotted. It's just nobody maintains it. I know you've got the X Libra, but if that's not in the main repos, or isn't being developed enough, doesn't work properly, then you're just left with the normal Xorg server, right? And I'm not going to not use Arch. So Arch is a sensible default, right? I know it might suck for some people, but I'll just use Wayland. I'll just use Sway. Spend most of my time in the TTY. If I need a graphical web browser, basically I open Sway. Or if I need to do a stream, I'll open Sway. Of course, this is through Xorg at the moment, but who knows what will happen in the future. 16 people. Yeah, Alpine. Yeah, I want to play around with that. I've had this week off so far. Got this week off. I've been playing around with OpenBSD. So and Tiny Core Linux. So I think I'll probably do some videos on OpenBSD, but I'm not switching to OpenBSD. So you hear it here first. I'm not switching to OpenBSD yet, but you never know. The reason for that, again, is future-proofing. I think it's just kind of good practice. Kind of good practice to have kind of like a backup distribution, and to also see how also just to see how OpenBSD do things. So it's been interesting so far. I haven't done too much on it, but just trying to okay, one thing I will say about OpenBSD, I do not like XenoDM or XenoDM. It is just annoying. I understand why they have it for security, but I don't like it. That's just want to let that out. Anybody who knows what I'm talking about, anybody who's used OpenBSD will know what I'm talking about. XenoDM, I don't like that. Do not like that at all. Wolf's Friend, wondering what YouTube recommend this time. Yeah, it's the thing with OpenBSD. If you're using Linux, and well, I did that video about Unix. Unix for me is everything, but the good thing about Linux, let's say, it kind of just stays out of your way. It just keeps out your way. Now, the whole reason to use OpenBSD is really security, let's say, good practice, a good way of doing things. That's the whole point of the OpenBSD kernel. It's what's used in servers a lot, and so forth. It's a good way to do things. However, a good way to do things is also sometimes just annoying. Okay, and OpenBSD, I got my back up a little bit so far using it, but I understand why they do what they do. So we'll see. I will probably do videos on it, basically setting up my equivalent of Linux, my Arch install on OpenBSD. So, but I'll do videos sort of exploring that. It won't just be, oh, I set up an OpenBSD that looks like. I will do videos on it. So yeah, I've been playing around with that a bit. So obviously it will have like i3, it will have I presume Xterm and all this kind of stuff. And then I'll obviously be kind of converting my TTY-SH, my sort of TTY desktop. I always feel awkward saying desktop in the TTY because it sounds ridiculous, but you know what I mean. The way I use the TTY is my desktop. So I'll be trying to replicate that. And the thing is, most of the stuff I write is in shell, so it should work. It's just the package names and certain core utilities perhaps won't work, but the syntax should all be fine. Anyway, that will be something I will be playing around. So it'll be a learning experience, and I'll be doing videos on that. And of course, the way things are going now, I'll be doing it as a live stream. So you'll be able to see me kind of doing these videos, if that makes sense. And then they'll get cut as YouTube videos. Now I'm just looking at the time here. So the time is sort of getting on. So I'll probably, in the next few minutes, so I'm going to actually do this video in the live stream. So should be interesting. Just got to, actually, I just got to get something. Yeah, so anybody got any like sort of like last questions or anything they want to talk about before I do this video? Any thoughts on FreeBSD's ports? I haven't used FreeBSD at all, to be honest. So I can't say. Now, FreeBSD does seem kind of interesting to me because it's kind of the BSD desktop, right? But unfortunately, I can't say anything. Oh, ports is sort of like the AUR, right? Okay. Haven't used FreeBSD, so I can't say. Can you use ports on OpenBSD? Or is there something similar on OpenBSD, or is it because the way OpenBSD does things, they have like, you know, limitations for security? Okay. Be interesting to see what OpenBSD has in terms of like an AUR or a repository, a user repository, let's say. Right, I'm going to share my screen now. Share entire screen. There we go. So sharing the entire screen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the video, because if you have just joined, my normal camera that I record my videos on has broken. Okay. So I'm using my webcam to do a live stream, and then I'm doing the video in the live stream, a bit like the Primeagen. I know, crazy. I can't really even put myself in the same frame as somebody like the Primeagen, but there we go. That's how it's kind of going. Hide, no, further. So, well, let's just sort of get into it. Let's have a look. So, anyway, so before I do the video, this is going to be on the read line because I got a comment. Okay, so this will be interesting. Here you go. Here's the comment. Like that. Yeah. So if you've seen my last video where I did about the Wayland clipboard or Clipman on Sway, I had a comment after the video, and well, let's just have a look at the comments. So Cybernet3 said he's using WL clipboard. Great. I'm pleased that's working for you. But he also said the following. So let's have a little look at what he said. I was wondering, do you know an efficient terminal shell line editing add-on so I can do text selection right at the prompt, so I can use shift and arrow keys and not use the mouse? I'm using the fish shell. I know there is readline with bash. And he's also using LightXL, which he says is pretty good and less complex than Vim or Emacs. Now, that's quite a lot of stuff to break down, but we're going to do our best. So what I'm going to do with this is kind of in reverse. So I want to cover the read line, okay? And then we'll look at the implications for editing the read line and for if you're using the fish shell, okay? So we'll just kind of break this down, but I'm going to do it in reverse because I want to cover the read line. Now, I did a video in the past on the read line using the VI or the Vim bindings on the read line. So look at that if you want to see how I did that and maybe get an understanding. But if you're wondering what the read line is, it effectively allows you to edit the text or allows you to edit in the shell, the text you've written. Let's have a look at it, okay? So for example, is that a good size? That's a good size. So for example, if I start typing, okay, and I start doing backspace, I'm editing the read line, okay? If I move my left and right keys, I'm editing the read line, okay? Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. Now, there's ways to edit. You've got the vanilla way of editing with key bindings that are Emacs style, and you can change it to Vim or VI style key bindings. So I'm just going to actually go into my bash RC. And what I'm going to do is, so that's set as that. So that should be right. Let's just open this up again to make sure. Okay. So first of all, so now you know what the read line is. We're going to do a little for loop in the read line, okay? And I'll show you something about the read line that you could consider editing, okay? So if I did a simple bash type for loop for I in, and then 1 to 5, okay? And then I do. Now, if I hit enter, notice what happens. I go into a PS2 prompt, or yeah, is the PS2 prompt. So you've got your PS1 prompt. I've done things on these before. Look at the videos if you want to know what that is. And this is waiting for my input, okay, on effectively a second line. So if I type do, and if I type echo, like, comment, subscribe, and hit enter again, it's waiting for me to basically complete this loop, okay? So if I type done, it completes the loop, okay? It completes, all the syntax is correct, and the loop is run, and you get like, comment, subscribe echoed 5 times, right? Makes sense? Good. Now, there is another way to have multi-line in the read line, okay? So because if, for example, I did for I in 1 to 5, I did do, and let's do echo, like, comment, subscribe. Okay, and then done. Now, if I had a really long command or lots of command, that's quite a lot of text in one line or one, one line, okay? Now, it works fine and whatever, but sometimes you want to break things down. So again, if you want to have like more manual control on whatever you put in the read line, so if I do for I in 1 to 5, and then I do the semicolon, and I do, now I'm going to put on screen key. Let's put on screen key for this. Now, if I do Control V, Control J, as you see, it doesn't go into a PS2 prompt, but it gives me another line, okay? So if I do, and then I do Control V, Control J, and I do echo, like, comment, subscribe. Now, if you look at what I'm doing, I can still edit this line, of course. I can still, but I've got it broken down on different lines with my control using Control V, Control J. And this is the vanilla bash read line, okay? I haven't got Vim bindings on or anything like that. This is just the Emacs bindings, okay? And then I do again, Control V, Control J, and I type done, and I hit enter. It runs the loop, okay, like we did the previous time. Hope that makes sense. So that's one way to edit, let's say, or one way to break up your loops or whatever commands you're putting in on the read line. Okay, so I kind of consider that editing, and I find that kind of interesting and nice to know. So you're probably wondering, well, how do I open it in a text editor then? Okay, so hopefully this is going to work because this is on the defaults here. So let's do again. I'm going to do for I in 1 to 5. Okay, and then I'm going to do yeah, okay, like, comment, subscribe, and then I'll just do done. Now if I do, trying to think, I think this is right, Control X, Control E. So if I do Control X, Control E, it opens up an editor. Now this is opening up Light XL. This was the editor that Cybernet Free, the commenter, mentioned. Okay, and if you look, I had set that in my bash RC. So I'd set my editor, which you need to do. Okay, so if I close this, let's close this out. As you can see, it's just, again, it will take the edit and it will put it in the read line and run the loop because it was complete. Okay, but I could edit that. So I'm going to show you with Vim how I would edit. Okay, so let's go into Vim. Let's Vim into bash RC, and I'm going to change this to set it to Vim key bindings. Okay, and I'm also, because I want to show you another way to change, another way to open your editor with the Vim key bindings. Okay, and then I'm going to change this to Vim. So if I'm just going to exit that. So if I now echo editor, the variable, it's Vim. Okay, so now if you watch, I did cover this before. If I start typing and I hit escape, I'm in the Vim key bindings. Okay, so I did a video on this, Vim key bindings. You know, you can use these to go back and forth. Okay, now an interesting thing with this as well is it changes your key bindings for the editor. So if I hit escape, I'm in normal mode. I'm not in editing mode. If I hit I, I'm in editing mode now. Okay, if I hit escape, I'm in normal mode now. In normal mode, if you type V, it opens up your editor with your read line text. Okay, so I can start typing this, whatever, and then if I do right quit, as you can see, it's put all of that text into the read line. Okay, over all these different lines. Now it's all a load of nonsense, so it's just saying command not found. It's just reading it and seeing nothing, so it's just saying command not found. There's nothing to run. Okay, but if you're running, say, a for loop, you could do the for loop over those lines and it would run. So why not? Let's just do that. So if I do for I, let's clear this out. So I do for I in 1 to 5. Do say I want to complete this in my editor. So I type V and I just start doing my do echo, like, comment, subscribe, and then do done, and then I right quit. There you go, it's run the loop, and I could do that all in my editor. Fantastic. How great is that? So that's covered that. Now what we have to address is fish. Okay, so the fish shell. So I'm using the bash shell. You might be using ZSH shell or whatever you're using. Now fish, as you might know, has its own syntax. It's not POSIX compliant, all this kind of thing, which has its own problems. Okay, so when you're doing your edits in fish, you're going to have to do some things. Okay, so let's have a look at first of all, setting your editor. Okay, so you mentioned Light XL. Now I showed you Light XL works on the bash read line. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go into your .config/fish/config.fish file, and you need to set this here. So you need to put in there set space -gx space editor space light-xl. Okay, and that will set your editor to Light XL. If you running Fish and you want a different editor, you obviously change Vim out or Light XL out to whatever you want. And the other thing with Fish is, let's go into editor. Another thing with Fish is it has different key bindings, okay? So if you are in the read line and you want to open your editor to change the read line like I did with Vim and Light XL, instead of doing Control X, Control E, or if you've got the Vim key bindings, the Escape V, you need to run Alt E, okay? And that will put you in your editor and then you can do whatever. Now, you did mention Shift and arrow keys. So I don't literally know because obviously I don't use Fish. I'm not going to install Fish. So I can't literally help you there. But it seems you can change key bindings here. So I don't know. Maybe this bit is what you need. Obviously, I'll have all the links in the description. So have a look. Maybe this is what you're looking for. But hopefully I've covered some of what you're looking for there. And for my own purposes and other people's purposes, the read line, things like multi-line and editing in your editor. Okay. So there we go. That's really it, I think. And we'll just leave it there. And you know what to do with the fake YouTube. You can like, comment, subscribe. And I want to give special thanks to my Patreons. That's Sean, that's HTX80 Nerd, and Soul. If you want to be a Patreon, if you want to support the channel, then have a look in the description. You can find a link there. So I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. And anyway, I'll see you in the next one. So there you go. How was that? That's how I'm going to do my videos now. That's the plan. There you go. See, you got it live. You get the live stream, you get the video. Doesn't get much better than that. And also, you know, I did that in one take there. So let's turn. There we go. I know, no editing needed. And I think when this live stream finishes in the next, I know I'll probably finish in the next 10 or so minutes. So get your questions in, or you want to talk about anything. And I'm not making this a hard and fast rule as well about live streams. In the future, I will, you know, probably have them longer, maybe, who knows, even shorter, but also gives anybody the chance to, you know, ask some questions. And hopefully it means I'm on here a bit more regularly, because with work and whatever, it's a bit difficult to prep a video and all that. And this way, maybe I can easily edit the videos in YouTube. Let's say I'll clip the one take and put it as a video anyway. So we'll see how that goes. All because my camera basically broke, my DSLR. Anyway, what were we talking about? We're talking about X Libra, weren't we? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I've got a feeling it will last. I just don't think any major distribution will have it in their main repositories. It'll be like a AUR. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the AUR already. Let's have a look. Is it in the AUR already? That would be funny. X Libra. Yeah, I think it's in there already. X Libra. Yeah, it's in there already. So there you go. You can install the Xlibra server. That's the great thing. I must admit, it's the great thing about the AUR. It's just so quick. People just get it in the AUR. Yeah, it is good. I do like the AUR. I mean, it must. If you're running over OpenBSD, if you had something like the AUR, it must be like security nightmare because you got no control. But I mean, hey, you could compile anything in OpenBSD, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't have too many AUR packages, but I feel the ones I do have are kind of critical. Like I use LibreWolf. I have obviously Firefox, but and I know I probably sound contradictory because you should have your browser in the main repos, but Firefox having to do the was it Arc and Fox JS thing? It's just a pain. It just has got nice, sensible defaults. I know I'm a hypocrite, really. Now I think about it, I'm a huge hypocrite because something like your web browser, you want really in your main repos, but there we go. Break my own rules there. Seems to be okay so far, LibreWolf. Trying to think what else I've got. I could have a look at the packages on the other computer, but I think I've got SCIM, the spreadsheet, the Excel type spreadsheet in the terminal TUI. Yeah, LibreWolf is okay. I think LibreWolf isn't in the main repos because, which maybe is a bit of a warning sign, really. But I think the Arch maintainers had issues. The package maintainers had issues with the LibreWolf people getting the packages like signed properly with like PGP or SHAs or whatever. I can't remember, but basically, like they just weren't doing the packaging or not packaging. The way they were doing certain things in their project just meant it was a big pain for Arch package maintainers to have it. So I think they dumped it out back onto the AUR. I'm not sure. Feels a while ago. It was a couple of years ago. I seem to remember. But this is the thing. Web browsers, as far as I'm concerned, I know it's a cliche. Everybody says it. Even people who use bloated graphical environments or whatever. The web is just anything and everything, right? And to support it, you need to put everything and anything in your web browser, or the web is broken. And it usually involves JavaScript, right? Because of course there's loads of web standards, but and I kind of understand it. Here's the thing: you don't necessarily want to be that guy who's like, no, you can't do this. You're not allowed to do this on the web. But because billions of people over the years do and have used it, then you've got no standards really, because everybody wants something from the web, right? And everyone wants usually some JavaScript implementation of some elaborate thing for selling something or presenting something, and there's new frameworks to build these things. It's a Pandora's box. The web isn't controlled by one developer, right? You know, Linus Torvalds didn't invent the web and control it. You know, it's all these different competing standards. You know, way it literally operates, as well as, you know, way web pages. It's never really been, you know, contained in that way. Yeah, and you know, obviously, so much has been, you know, it's so easy relatively for web developers to make an Electron app, right? So again, this is just our hands are tied, right? You just have to accept the situation or don't use the web, and our lives are dependent on web services, websites. If you can avoid these things, great, but it's just the way it is. Even things that we don't want to depend on, or let's say even things that aren't literally necessary for our survival, you know, services, or, you know, paying a bill to a company through their website or whatever, or their app. We use YouTube, right? I'm streaming now on YouTube, so I can't make it a hill I need to die on, because I'm having to use it to stream. I know you don't have to use it, but you know, we like browsing YouTube and whatever. We know we moan about the web, but it's just how it is. We moan about it, but we use it. We have to use it. If you can avoid using it, great, but that's not the world we live in. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't want everything to become a web browser. But you and I are probably in the same situation. Family require certain applications that use the web or are on the web browser, and you use it. It's not open source, it's not Libre, it's not anything but what is presented to you, and you have to accommodate it. It's like life, right? Full of compromises usually. I think how many times you're using your computer, right? You're having to make compromises all the time. Unless you are literally running, say, Parabola, but you won't be on this stream, I presume, if you're using Parabola, because you won't be able to stream, you know, because of licensing. I like how your streams are usually a requiem for the modern consumer computing and tech. Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. I mean, I'm still using it. So I'm, like I've said before, I won't make it a hill to die on, but yeah, absolutely. But this is the thing. I was saying this earlier to the architect and whoever else was on. When I saw the Luke Smith video, I felt kind of guilty, because I hadn't dunked on, I hadn't been really harsh to the FSF, but I can't run Parabola, let's say. In the truest sense, I can't run free or an FSF approved distribution. I can't. I'm having to make compromises all the time. You're probably the same. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's the case. How are we doing on time? Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. So, any last questions, or anybody want to talk about something very briefly? And I'll probably do this again tomorrow. That's the plan anyway. Like I said, I've got this week off. My camera's broken, or the audio's broken on my camera, so I'm using the webcam, and therefore I'm kind of incorporating streams in my videos. I thought it was kind of cool. Actually got 10 people on there. It's kind of surprising. Okay, so I guess we'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for Ahmed Nasser. The FSF and Richard Stallman are misunderstood. They're not all or nothing. Any steer towards freedom is appreciated if you can't be. I don't know. I've spoken to Richard Stallman very briefly, and I don't know. And whenever you hear him speak, or whenever he is sort of all or nothing. That's how I feel about it. I know he's made like compromises on like plane travel and things, but it was funny about the whole microcode. Well, FSF was funny about the microcode situation with LibreBoot, and I don't know. Maybe I need to do more research on that, really. But let me put it this way: if I said to Richard Stallman right now, if I sent him an email and said, "Hey, look at what I'm doing my best," I don't think he would appreciate it. That's just my feeling, but I don't know. He would be like, "Yeah, but you're not trying hard enough." That's my guess. Maybe I shouldn't presume, but that's just my sort of feeling whenever I've but it's interesting you say it's sort of misunderstood, so maybe I shouldn't presume. It'd be interesting to know what he would really say, but I think I got an impression, but I shouldn't presume. A good point, because he has made compromises himself, like air travel. He uses a credit card or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So I hope you enjoyed the short stream. I hope you liked the video. You got the video even before the video's been released. So how good was that? One take, no pressure. Anyway, cheers, guys. So I'll probably do this tomorrow. Try and do this as regularly as possible, and obviously I'll have the video inside the stream, and then eventually the video will come out. GNU software for Windows, 100% aware that users are 100 because they use Windows. Yeah, okay, good point, Ahmed. Good point. See what you're saying. Good point. Thanks for the stream. Enjoy the rest of your day. You too. Cheers, guys. Anyway, I'll see you later. Take it easy.